All right, obviously, coming off the win on Saturday, a lot to reflect upon. And like I said, even post game, I thought we didn't even play our best game by any stretch of the imagination. But a hard fought win. Like I said, I was pleased with the perseverance of the guys, the entire locker room, and the way they continue to fight and believe in what we do. But when it was all said and done, you look back and we have yet to play a complete game in any form or fashion in any of the phases. So all three phases we know we can improve. We know there's things that continue to work on, and that is pleasing given where we're at from a record standpoint. Obviously, um, we've still got a long ways to go. We got hopefully 9 more games of the season, with a focus obviously on a huge one coming up on Friday the 13th versus Tulane, a team that obviously won 12 games last year. We know what a historic season they had, how good they continue to be. One of the best defenses in the country, and one of the best quarterbacks in the country as well. So looking forward to a great crowd on another national television game, and excited to move forward, try to get healthy and well during this bye week, and see where we can take this thing.
Well, when you have 3 straight weeks of games that went down to the wire, do you kind of evaluate those in one lump sum of like, these are the things that we have done well consistently in those games, and here's the things that we need to work on down the stretch?
I think, yeah, Frank, you kind of get a chance to, every week it rests on its own different things, right? Different ways, the way different games end. But you sit there and say, okay, one, you're proud and pleased with the way you finish games, even if, they're not always the prettiest, but, finishing with a win. And I think you just see different things, right? A situation in this past game where they had a 2-minute drive, and so our defensively, hey, how do we find ways to stop them on those last drives, right? The onside kick things. You talk about even at the 6.5-minute drive that the offense put together, right, to almost seal the game, at least the go-ahead touchdown towards the end. You look at, what occurred in Navy. How do you put that game away without fumbling the ball on the 6-inch line? You look at all those things, and that's part of it. And you say, okay, and I challenged our staff. No more, right? We'll regroup in the bye, and we'll figure it out versus Tulane. And but the confidence and the belief in the way we do things, and saying, okay, we got this. We'll dig ourselves out of this hole that we put ourselves in, with a lot of self-inflicted wounds and things that we didn't do properly in execution and as coaching staff. And like I said all along, even post game, Frank, the guys believed and they understood. Hey, this is what we can do to get better and find a way to dig ourselves out of the hole. Anytime you get 28 unanswered points, it's a good thing, right? We've been on the flip side of that thing where we've had those leads and not done what we needed to. So I think it shows the maturation process of this group, even though it's some different bodies than last year. But the belief has been there. Like I said, maybe it just reassured it, in the locker room. You can reassure a lot of things with wins, but you can also continue to coach off a lot of things that occur, right? When it losses, sometimes guys don't always want to hear it, but in a win, okay, what can we do to continue to get better so we can continue this feeling of winning football games?
You've been saying since the summer that this team feels different.
Well, Yeah, the defense went out there and got actually the stop on the first drive, and then they downed the punt on the 6-inch line. You go back and watch it. It was a touchback, but that's okay. And then all of a sudden, you're the field position battle, right? Because all of a sudden the offense starts on the 6-inch line. I promise you, I had not. We usually script. You always heard about openers and teams scripting the first 9 or the first 15 plays. We didn't script to be. Plays. Now anything within, they stop it, and just trying to keep the guys in balance. We practice those type of 2-minute situations all the time with our team, and I think it's just how does it show up, and how are we going to be able to do it. Like, you get home on a sack on a 4-man rush, man, all of a sudden maybe the game's over. And so those are the things that we discuss. We look at the defense staff studies. Hey, we looked at what Boise had done, as an offense. Obviously, their coordinator Bush Hammond had come from Missouri. Then you start studying Missouri's 2-minute offense. What are they trying to do? And then other situations throughout the season. So it's that fine line. You play cover 0 and you get a sack. Oh, great job. You play cover 0 and you get burned. You're a fool for doing that. So it's playing defense to the best of your ability, and reality coming up and making tackles and keeping that clock
So
going.
you're all right with the philosophy of how it played out Saturday, just has to be executed a little bit better?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not happy. I wish we never gave up the touchdown. To be honest, but that was never the plan to do that. But obviously, great job by the hands team on the onside kick. You go and you're too aggressive, you give up the quick touchdown, they get it. I believe with the final deal they had, it was 31 seconds and 1 timeout, something like that, after the onside kick. 39, yeah. So you would know better than I would. 39 seconds with 1 timeout, which they still would have the ability, had they gotten the onside kick, to take a couple shots and get down the field. It's no different. Like, someone asked me about the before the half, right? Oh, you had all 3 timeouts and you didn't see them in a rush. Well, we were able to score on that drive right before half and leave them with 30-something seconds, because also, if all of a sudden we're burning timeouts, we leave them with 1:11. Now they get the chance, right? It's trying to play that chess match. Who's got the possession, the last possession, steal the extra one, knowing that we deferred on purpose so we'd get the ball in the second half. And then it's no different when you're thinking about defensive play calling at the end of a game in a 2-minute situation.
You mentioned in the past several times about just Seth's level-headedness since he's been in the program. In what ways did that kind of play out on Saturday?
First and foremost, right, any quarterback that goes down 17 points is probably going to have some sort of panic and all this stuff. You never see that from him. And then it's funny because I even have, people that, there's fans yelling in the front row. Like, they even said, man, your team just seems so calm the whole time. Like, your demeanor seems so calm. And part of it's the trust and the belief in what we're doing, but also Seth's level-headed. There wasn't a panic. Now, there's a sense of urgency, and I said some things that are like, hey, let's get our tails going. I kind of, only joked, like, we looked like we were still playing the night games that we had played all season, right? The 6:30 games. Like, hey, guys, this is a 3 o'clock game. Let's wake our tails up and let's go. But his level-headedness throughout the whole time was pretty good. Even stepping up, I thought he did a nice job. The offensive line did a solid job, but even in pass protection, we found himself stepping up, making the throws, especially in the second half when he needed to, right, running the football a little bit more. But that level-headedness, that confidence, that calm demeanor, it's huge for us because we've seen a lot of quarterbacks that lose their mind on the sidelines, that are irate, that get too caught up in what the actual scoreboard is rather than just going and playing, hey, the next play mentality, and that's huge because Seth's been able to do that, and it's part of his maturation that's occurred also in year 3.
I mean, how important was it this week that you saw him clean up some of those turnovers?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. You guys will hear me say it. And before the game, I talked about one of the keys to victory was, if we don't turn the ball over, we'll win this football game. And we didn't, it was close at the end, but we didn't. And I think that's going to be so huge just moving forward. Seth playing a clean game, owning the football, making great decisions with it, even when it's not there, maybe tucking it and running or taking the checkdowns. Obviously, a lot of those checkdowns have been good for us, especially what the running backs and tight ends have been able to do after the catch.
You talk with Blake about some of the goal line ball security, even if it wasn't really a fumble?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can bet on that. I mean, Blake's obviously having a phenomenal year and had another great game. But those are the things I think sometimes it's trying to do too much. Now, the one in Navy, it was a bang credit to the guy. I mean, right after the handoff, the ball got hit. This game, I don't know if he was just trying to lay it over. Now, the ruling is we tell our guys, unless it's a 4th down or game on the line situation or a 2-point play, we don't reach for that. And we've seen too often, I show the guys all the time where those things can occur. But just continue to own the ball in the ball security situation. But he's conscious of it. We talk about it. And anybody that's been around our program hears me say, own the ball, right? The ball is a program, it's a life, it's actually in the running back room, right? We talk about ball security, job security, yours and mine. It's as important as everything we do. But yeah, we'll get that cleaned up.
How proud are you of kind of showing that he wants that lead role out of the factory?
Yeah, Blake's been phenomenal. One, you guys that have been around him, he's got a quiet demeanor, but he's very, very intelligent. He's very, very caring. He's very, very proud. And guess what? He's one of those guys that's just bought into the way we've done things. No questions asked. Not, hey, I've had this success at Old Dominion. No. Okay, what do I need to do? Because he also understands the success we've been so fortunate to have here at the running back position. And so he's bought into the way we do things. And just, his demeanor, his willingness to block, his willingness to catch the ball in the backfield. Even when things aren't always great, he just continues to put his head down. I think we found him, he continues to improve as a runner as well, right? With the different concepts we run. We're not just an inside zone team. We run mid-zone concepts, we run counter, we run gap, we run all different things, and he's finding that niche in there. And plus our protection system is very similar to the NFL one, and he's bought into that and learned that. So just so proud of his growth, and I think one of those, right, hopefully we get to continue to see his improvement, but he's also done a phenomenal job catching the ball out of the backfield as well.
How big is it to have a guy like Kobe Drake, whose name may not be on the tip of your tongue when you talk about the main leaders, but Seth and Rock said that he was one of those guys on their sideline that kind of helped galvanize the team.
Oh, absolutely. When people talk about Kobe Drake, and this is one of those things I think any of us as a football player want to hear, but any of us in life, he's consistent. I mean, he shows up and does his job week in and week out, and that's one of those things. He just, he's going to be where he's supposed to be. He can catch the football, and it sounds so monotone for a wide receiver. Oh, he catches the ball. Yeah, well, that's a huge deal, right? A guy that when you throw it to him, he's going to catch it. And Kobe just shows up. He's obviously done a great job in the punt return game. But yeah, that the catch on third down on the sideline, monstrous. His energy, his enthusiasm, it's been great. You know, he's one of those quiet leaders. But I've been so pleased with him and what he means to this program.
I know you talk about just the ability of the transfer portal, but to have a guy like Kobe who's just consistently what I call like a program guy, how important is that to have in the program?
It's everything. And you guys have heard, you know, we've talked about this in years past, even before you were here, Frank, is the success that our walk-ons have had here, especially the walk-on wide receivers. I mean, Kobe came here as a walk-on. And what he did was he just showed up day in and day out and had success. When you think about that, the walk-on wide receivers that came before him, Calvin Austin, Anthony Miller, we just got to go out. This is a recruiting pitch. We got to go out and find walk-on wide receivers that want to be the next dude, because that's what he is. But you talk about that in the day and age of the portal, because the mindset for a lot of guys is, you know, after that second year, man, I'm not playing. You know, maybe it's not the right fit for me. Maybe the coaches are screwing me. Maybe it's just go find somewhere else. And the guys that sometimes that say, okay, I'm just going to put my head down and continue to work, the Anthony Millers, the Calvin Austins, the Kobe Drakes, they find success. And those are the type of young men you're just so proud, because you can hang their hat on, hey, this guy's done it the right way. They handle himself. You know, I think he's an engineering major that does great. You know, I mean, there's some mornings he's sprinting over from class just to sit in these meetings. I said, who the heck's got 7 a.m. class? Now, hopefully he's not pulling my wool, and he actually does have those morning classes with engineering, but he's been phenomenal. He's bought into the way we do it, and just obviously his role in special teams as well has been huge.
You mentioned Rock a lot in the summer. Maybe we didn't talk about him enough, but he seems to have seized that wide receiver one role. And I know there were a lot of other contributors in that room, but how would you sum up the way he has seized that opportunity and that role that was there for the taking?
Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job. Just, you know, we'd always talk to, you guys saw it last year, right? He's flashed, man. He can do some really good things. And, you know, you guys hear me talk about, part of the fun is that he's a guy that we recruited out of high school, right? He didn't come via the portal. And then we've seen him grow every year. In fact, last year, about this time, Rock came up to my office like, hey, Coach, I want a red shirt. And I had a conversation. I said, okay, well, you can. It's a thought. You know, I'm never going to tell a young man, let's have an adult discussion about this. I said, also, by you playing in some games, and maybe it's not the 50 snaps of games he's getting now, but you playing in some games will help your growth for next year. And sometimes that's hard to hear. Well, I'm only playing 15 snaps a game right now. I need more. I need more. And I said, just trust me on this. Like, you have a chance to be really special here and continue to grow and get that connection with Seth. And Rock is one of those that you just see the growth day in and day out off the field, and then it's paying huge dividends on the field. He's smart. He cares. He's a big-time wide receiver, and obviously having a massive year, and we can continue to have high expectations for him. But I also think a lot of other people are sitting there saying, man, that number 3 for Memphis on offense, he's pretty darn special.
What was his demeanor when he came into that meeting? Was he combative or?
Not at all. Rock is quiet by nature, and but a very intelligent young man that, you know, hey, let's talk about this. And we had that. I have discussions every day with young men in my office about a variety of different things. And hey, what do you think about this, Coach? This is my thought on this. And you know, to credit for him, he sat there and thought about it and said, okay, you're right. And it is paying huge dividends for him. And you know, I think we're getting to see what he is capable of. And he's still got another year, I think, before. It's going to just take off. And so, just so proud of the willingness to continue to push through those things, because this day and age, we're 18 to 23-year-old men. You know, hey, a lot of different things. People are reaching out to them about different stuff. Okay, I'm just going to stay the course. I'm going to trust what you're telling me. And you know, post game, when I was doing the radio, he actually was right there on my hip, and they were talking about him, and you could just see the glow and the smile on his face, because everything he was hearing me talk about him was the reality that him and I had talked about. And so he, you know, and that's part of my role as the head coach, is not just to be the football coach and X's and O's, is almost like a father-like figure to a lot of our young men, and serve them in a variety of capacities, right? And I think just being honest and upfront with them, hey, this will benefit you. Now, we've also had those conversations with guys saying, you know what, you're right, and maybe you should sit this year and we'll see what's best for you the next year. And we've had those hard conversations, and sometimes we're not always going to agree on things. That's the nature of it. It's just like a family, right? I think if all the conversations I had with my family, we don't always agree on things, but we come to a mutual agreement that, hey, what's best for the young man and best for our program, and that situation's worked out, and he's having a massive year.
Have you had that Paul Rudd moment with him where you like brought up that meeting last year and then like, hey, look at us now?
Yeah, we know. I mean, he knows, and that's what's pleasing. And it's no different with a lot of our guys that you have those conversations that are sometimes hard. I don't have all the answers, but I hope that we can be a guiding for these guys, whatever that may be, right? Maybe it's a player saying, hey, coach, should I go in the transfer portal? Coach, should I declare for the NFL? And I always tell our guys this, like, for my 8 years here, I've been far from perfect, but I've always tried to pour into our guys to the best of my ability. And I don't think anybody that's been around our program says I don't care about our guys. I mean, I love our players from number 1 to number 122 on our roster. And my job is to serve them in a variety of different ways. And the biggest thing I can serve them is by being upfront with them and truthful and trying to help them whatever it is. It may be an internship, it may be some advice. And if I can provide those guys with what I think is going to benefit them, and then they can trust me, it has usually worked out in their benefit, because everything I always want is for the best. If a guy is going to be a third-round pick, and someone's telling him, hey, you need to stay, or someone's saying, hey, you should go, well, look, go. This is going to benefit you. So we're always going to be forthright with our guys, because ultimately all I care about is their success in everything they do, not just in between those white lines. And Rock's one of those guys that's, hey, bought in, hey, you know what, Coach, you've been straightforward with me, you've done it the right way. You believed in me even at high school when things in his recruitment went a little bit different. And it's been a fun relationship. As he's grown, so has our relationship. And I think that, look, the young man is super talented and doing a lot of high-level things on the field, and just so pleased with how he's been.
Do you expect to have a specialist or two back next week?
I think we got another press conference on Monday, so we'll have someone ask. Yesterday, still, letting them heal, so we'll know more as we go into practices this week.
Jonah okay?
We do plan on Jonah being fine. He did leave the game with an injury. We do have full expectations that he's a full participant this week.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, guys.